Toward the end of World War II, the United States Army Air Force flew from numerous airfields across East Anglia. As the war moved into 1944 and 1945, nearly all of the bomber fleet were replaced with the Boeing B-17, which harnessed a formidable reputation for sustaining damage and returning home. It wasn't uncommon for the aircraft to be patched up and flying again in a very short time. Here, a B17G of the 91st Bomb Group can be seen returning to Bassingbourn, an aileron and most of a rudder missing, holes in the wings and fuselage, as well as unextinguished fires. Shortly after breakfast on Tuesday the 20th of February 1945, 568, previously nicknamed Little Davey II, a B17G of 860 Squadron, 493rd Heavy Bomber Group, took off from Debach airfield just a few miles to the west. It developed a fire in number 3 engine and, as it was overflying Woodbridge at the time, the crew had no chance of ditching their bombs before attempting a forced landing in the river as the fire spread quickly to the wing. It was ditched in the deepest part of the River Deben, close to the Ramsholt arms, and immediately sank. Of the crew, only the pilot, co-pilot and flight engineer managed to escape the aircraft, but the co-pilot was quickly washed away with the current. Of the 2 survivors, one swam to shore, whilst the other was rescued by a local fisherman. George Collins, now harbour master, was 14 at the time and remembers the events well.
I was 14, we were working on the farm then.
Yeah.
And it was up at 7 in the morning when that crashed in the water. And we were working on the farm, and in the evening when we come down and saw it there, we just see the tail end of the plane at low water, out of the water. And then the next night we come down again, and they'd got some pontoons down and tied the pontoons around it to lift it up. As it took water come in, that lifted the plane off the bottom of the mud.
Yeah.
And they had a bit of tank on the grass there with a long wire on, and they pulled it up on the mud right up on the beach. And then they took the bodies out. The next day the Americans come down and took the bodies out and took them away, and the pilot and co-pilot got out, and the chap called Arthur Hunt, he was a skipper of a boat for the Gilbey's gin people, and he used to tie it on the quay just here. And he was down here that morning, him and a mate of his, and they got their motor launch and picked the 2 people up. They rescued them, and they were alive, they were all right.
Who was sitting on the mud? Were they just...
No, they picked them up, floating out when they see the plane come down. And they launched their motorboat and picked the 2 out what was in the water.
Okay. And when did you first see it? Did you first see it when it was in the water?
We just sort of the next night, well, the same night, we could see it low water. We could see the tail end of the plane sticking out of the water. And then the next night when we come down, they'd put the pontoons around it, and the next day they pulled it up on the beach, and we could see it all then. And they laid up on the beach in several months. It laid up on the beach, right up on the sand.
Yeah.
And all us youngsters around here used to play in it.
Yeah.
Because we'd never been in a plane before, or ever been in a plane since. That was the only plane I've ever been in, and we used to sit in the pilot's cockpit and play around with all the things. And they took the bombs out because the bombs weren't loaded. Yeah. Apparently they don't load them until they get to Germany when they want to drop them.
Use them.
They don't fuse them. So they took the bombs out and the bodies out and left it on the beach there. And the Americans used to had a big had a tent, and they used to be on guard down here, but they never took any notice of young boys playing around in it.
They didn't go in the pub and spend most of the time in the pub?
No, they did, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. They ditched because that was one engine was alike, but apparently that plane had been in trouble before. Engine trouble, and that had to come back from Germany and crash landed. So the actual plane itself had been in trouble before they had landed in the water here. And one of the crew at the bottom got stuck in the door when they opened the door.
Yeah, I see.
They got the parachutes on and he couldn't get out.
So the actual parachute was probably the reason why he couldn't actually get out the door in the first place, because
they reckon that's why. I mean, the pilot and co-pilot got out because they were up top.
Yeah.
They could get out all right.
Oh.
I mean, that was all underwater, but they could get out. But when they opened the door to let the other ones out of the water, just gushed in and they just drowned.
A plaque was placed dedicating the site as an official memorial to the crew of 43-38568 in 1994, and there are now a growing number of historians and enthusiasts keeping the memory of those that gave so much for our freedom alive. The 493rd, their mission logs and roll call are just a few of the treasured pieces of history that are kept at a dedicated museum open to the public most weekends at Debach Airfield. At 92, George is a remarkable man, and we felt honoured to capture his thoughts and memories so many years later.